Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to day one of the November Culturally Competent Conversations for Equity and Belongingness, or the C3EB Summit, where in these next couple of days, today and tomorrow, we are focusing on improving the accessibility of equity and belongingness initiatives in our talent and workforce pipelines. And with that, I am so excited for this current session right now with Dr. David Glover. And before I introduce Dr. Glover, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Whether you're watching on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, please make sure and whether you're watching this live or later, you see a ticker on the bottom of the screen. This is your sign-in sheet for this session, so we have a better understanding of how many people have been able to, have taken advantage of the access to this amazing session coming up. So please make sure you sign in. It's at www.c3eb.com/speaker/David-Glover. I also want to take a moment to thank our partners who are walking this walk with us so that we can build the C3EB platform to surpass TEDx and SXSW in the future, because that is a dream that will be manifested. So thank you to Catchwords, powered by EcoFiles, Achieve Podcast, Core Magazine, Aura Nexus, 30 Friends, Wistia, and the Nielsen Company for walking this walk with us. And with that, it is my utmost pleasure to introduce to you our expert speaker for today, Dr. David Glover. Hi, Dr. Glover.
Hello, hello, hello. Good day to you and everyone.
Yeah, good day to you too. So I just want to read people your bio so they understand the powerhouse that's in front of them real quick. Dr. David N. Glover is a PsyD, MAIO, and PMP. He is the president and director of Ennoblement LLC. David is a graduate of Touro University, where he completed his doctorate for human and organizational psychology. He also holds a master's degree in industrial and organizational psychology with a concentration in executive coaching. He is a certified life coach, as well as a member of the American Association of Christian Counselors, or AACC. He's a member of the Society of Industrial and Organizational Psychologists, or SIOP, and an award-winning author of Building and Managing Organizations. As the founder of Ennoblement LLC, he has played an integral role of elevating organizations in the field of leadership and religion. His doctorate research and community work provide empirical data to compel parishioners to assist in mitigating the maladies that lay festering in the pews. A viable and vital contributor to all he connects to, Dr. Glover has garnered a plethora of awards, trophies, certificates, and other tributes. He has traveled as a public speaker and as a consultant to organizations and executives. And today he is here with us virtually to blow our minds with his topic, which I will let him introduce because he's going to do more justice to that. So Dr. Glover, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of this opportunity, and I'm humbled by this opportunity from Dr. AJ and the C3EB Summit. I am excited to be here, excited to be able to present and to further the work that is already being done by myself and others. And this is one of many times I hope to be able to not just be here as a speaker, but to also to be able to participate and hear what others are pouring out as well. And I encourage you to do the same. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right in to our task at hand with the topic of destigmatizing, seeking professional help within the religious arenas of African American LGBTQ communities. And that's a mouthful that sounds like a lot, but basically what we're saying right there is how to take the stigma away from African Americans, the LGBTQ communities, seeking professional help from the religious component. Now, I know that this summit is uh, based on or triggering and pipelining workforce development and task force development. So corporations and the like are the target niche, but as well, I think that a lot of times we don't really realize, we really don't take in account that religion, although it is separated at some point as church and state, it impacts without even being conceived that it's being impacted in your corporate world, in your daily task life, in it informs your decision making, your leadership styles, and all those things. So what actually happens on the back end, if we go in reverse, is actually when you think about it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more as we move forward, but they intertwine and intermingle very well. So you have to be cognizant of that. You have to be informed of that, so that you know that this stigma doesn't just affect only yourself, but it affects moving forward as well. It affects working in the religious area as well in the corporate area. Just one moment, I'm trying to advance my screen. So with that, we're going to look at the intertwining of religion and business, religious impact, the compound issues, and ways we can mitigate with that. So those are our 4 areas that we will be looking at and dealing with in this session. So when we look at intertwining religion and business, we have this thought that that they are separate, and they are separate. Church and state are separate. But when you think about going into religion, and any religion feeds itself on your core values. It is actually informing your behavior patterns, and not just coming inside of religious settings or just even in your family and home life, but also in your everyday work life and dealing with your friends. Religion informs how you should behave, what type of values you should actually allow your decisions and your responses to be made from. So it invades and pervades in every aspect of society. So how you deal with your neighbor just coming out of the house, religion can have an impact on that. But then when you get into the boardroom making decisions, religion actually informs your psyche of making the best decisions, doing the right things. What type of leader, whether you're going to be a a transformational leader, or whether you're going to be a situational leader, or whether you're going to be a leader that is, autocratic, all those different type of leaderships, you can find religion having a premise and a baseboard from it. So to think that they're completely separate is really just an espoused theory. It is not really something that works in a theory day to day, in your theory in use. You are actually still applying theories and theoreticals from the religious sector. If you have it from the faith base, whether you are in a faith base, there are some nonprofits, of course, that subscribe to religious backbones and constructs. And then there are educational systems that do the same. But even in corporate America, you cannot really separate out successfully doing the same. So the reflection that you have when you go to, if it's Bible study or to mass or to mosque, whatever you call that convening and learning of the religion, you actually are applying it to your personal self. And you take your personal and self into interpersonal relationship, so that you are always using the backbone of religion, even in your daily handlings, in your ethics and decorum. It is based on religion. So as we move from there, we get ready to talk about the religious impact, how in the African American history, how it has been, religion has been its background. Religion has always been a strong tenet of the African American church and identity in the United States, especially. The religious Black Christian congregations have been considered a pillar of the African American community. It was created by slaves, and it was used for everything from worship to protest to entertainment to even public speaking and leadership practice. Black churches have served as mutual aid groups, providing African Americans a sense of belonging, a place where there are positive role models, there are places for interpersonal learning, and a safe environment to share and express ideas and feelings. Even Robin Kelly discussed in his book, Race Rebels, that the Black church members also helped Southern labor unions, especially during the era of the industrial unionism and in the 1930s and 1940s. So historically, the Black church has been a station for Black people to come together, to engross themselves in their type of therapy from their day-to-day activity and from the stressors that had happened during slavery times. And even after that, the times that followed slavery, which still had harassments and different other civil rights movements and all of those things. The church was the bedrock for that. But even today, as it's pivotal to the present existence. It has not actually waned or waxed away in its fervor or in what it is called to do. Today, the Black Christian churches continue to serve as a social network where individuals obtain assistance in handling their day-to-day living problems. They can learn that they are not alone in their experiences and still feel accepted. Now, the mental health research shows that the impact of religious involvement is positively related to other positive psychological outcomes, such as subjective well-being, supportive family ties, and the use of effective coping strategies. It also provides a formal structure of acceptance and acknowledges all the respects members of the Black community by bestowing on them valued roles in the church. So the Black church is said to be the place and has proven by data collected to be the place where Black people currently still can come and feel a part of something, feel like a team, and still feel like it is the bedrock, it is the core of their existence, that they everything else is systemic from their core beliefs that they learn within the church walls. So it also becomes then a place for therapeutic functionality. It is the place where they're able to actually come and lay their burdens down or unpack with like-minded people, have social groups that they can come to and not feel judged or feel a part of, feel like we're on the same page. And everybody needs that. It becomes for many people, as our data has extracted, it becomes actually sometimes more family than their biological or bloodline family. So it becomes very pivotal to them. What happens in the church or happens in the religious settings becomes part of the fabric of their lives. So with that, then we move on to the compounds of the issues that have happened. So because of the lack of resources, the lack of being poverty, they were able to use a coping mechanism of each other to get by and to be able to have services that help them to de-stress, help them to feel re-energized, to move depression. They use religious coping mechanisms, whether that was their worship services, their enthralling of the spirit being moved upon them. All of those things were therapeutic for them, and they were able to literally relieve stress. So there has even been studies that show that the religious happenings during the church services, the move of the spirit, and all that actually was therapeutic to its members and participants. That as they engaged in the service, that it actually did have a psychosomatic way of being able to literally reduce that stress and release that stress and give them the courage and strength and hope, as going to a professional would have done limitedly. So because they didn't have resources, they also then appointed the pastor or the reverend or the parishioners of the church, the elders of the church, whether that be the mother or the elders or certain wise older people, to be that counselor, to be that person that you would go to and lean on and tell your problems to, and get advice and get wisdom how to apply it to your life to move forward. And so because they had to do that, there was no other options. They weren't able to afford to be able to go and utilize services of professionals. They weren't able, some of them weren't even able to see a regular doctor. And if they were able to do that, they tried to use the doctor just to get extra words of wisdoms or their type of valued opinions so they can apply it to their lives to deal with the issues, the mental maladies that they were encumbering themselves from day to day. So this became a way of life. This became the only option that they had, was to lean on the elders and parishioners and appointees of the church. Well, to compensate and justify for that, there became a perpetuation of the stigma, which was that we don't need to go see a professional, that we don't need to lean on the actual advice of trained counselors or psychoanalysts or anything in the mental health arena. God will be our person. And if not God himself, then he has orchestrated that we're here with the parishioners, that we're here with the pastor, with the associate team, the mothers of the church. And so there became then this stigma against going to see professionals, in as much as I can even remember as a child, growing up in a very religious, highly religious setting, and it was really frowned upon if we found out someone had actually went to go see, for whatever reason, a non-church member as for a counselor. So, i.e., if they went to go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or see even a counselor. Now, back then, they didn't really have life coaches and all those type of coaches back as I remember, but it was very much frowned upon. And the only time that we even made exceptions is if it was court ordered, or if, for whatever reason, they just had to do it. But it was not the thought or the premise or the practice that we would go see a professional counselor. And even when we did, I remember specifically a member of my family had to go, they were court ordered to go see a professional. And so it was very intense, and like it was very dramatic, like, oh, they've been ordered, and so they had to tell the pastor and basically get clearance of, like, I have to do it because that's what's been ordered. And they were given specific instructions, very very detailed, as to what to do before they got there, while they're there. And it was as if they were saying that they were going to try and do something to the mind of the person, the participant that had to go, and give them drugs and give them all type of things that would be against what our doctrine or what our practice in religion was. So it was very taskful, but it made a very clear sound, a very clear image, that we don't practice going to see a professional, but that we would rather lean on persons who actually did not have the actual capabilities, who themselves had problems, issues, and things of that nature. And so we became entrenched and indoctrinized, and it became kind of almost a creed that that there is a separation of those who went to go see professional mental health providers versus those who went to go and utilize the church and those who were non-professionals. So it began this perpetuation that still is prevalent today. And so as well, one of the topics that became very strong, of course, was the fact that the practices and beliefs of the church and religion frowned upon the LGBT non-heterosexual practice. They didn't believe in same gender or any of the fluidity of gender and all those different things that we have now come to recognize. And so you found in the brown and black churches, you found that religion, which in these cultures and settings embraced those people who were marginalized in their day-to-day life, as all of the different maladies and societal ills and troubles were going along. They were already marginalized when they came together, but now you find a double marginal people, because those who were sexual or sexually disenfranchised because of their belief, because of their practice, because of their proclivities, it began a series of the place that was supposed to be a place that they belonged and be the anchor became to be that place of chastisement of and angst and all of those different things. And so although the Black church have historically have been, the foundation of the African American community, some individuals were marginalized within their own church community, both directly and indirectly. Black churches have been identified for fostering homophobia, which is the fear and contempt of homosexuals and behaviors based on such feelings. So what ended up happening is that you've had now this group of people, classically they were called DL people, but they exhibit these internalized homonegativities, which led to cognitive dissonance within inside themselves. So they're not able to function as they truly would to function because of fear of being ostracized, the fear of being penalized for their sexual proclivities. And so it also led to lower self-esteem and less perceived availability of social support. So there was no one there to help them understand or help them agree with the humanist part of them. So this paradox of African American homosexual individuals seeking a religious ideology and institution as a part of their psychological coping mechanism, despite facing homonegativity within the Black church community, points at a specific need for social and psychological support that these individuals seek for their well-being. So these people are coming to the church as growing up as a part of their culture and being turned away, being ostracized, and it is having a psychological effect on them. And true enough, when you experience that trauma that you go through, you bring that trauma into the corporate America, you bring it into the workforce, you bring it into the workplace. And so then you have to find coping mechanisms into your interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships. So they may have had limited support available and have histories of rejection and devaluation, and may be at greater risk for mental health problems as a result of this homonegativity. And so research has shown that higher levels of internalized homonegativity and distress will be predicted at lower levels of openness around one's sexuality and being connected with lesbian, gay, and bisexual community, and poor self or sense of self. So simply saying that those who are not able to be themselves, their true selves, to be confident that they're not going to be rejected or devalued or penalized for their sexuality and who they are, they're not able, they're constricted, and it starts to have a psychological effect. And when